I worked 60 hours a week so she could finish nursing school. On her graduation day, she thanked me, kissed me, then whispered, "I'm sorry," and walked away. I stood there alone, holding her diploma. Turns out, she'd been dating her instructor for months. But she didn't know I had access to her email, and what I sent him that night. I'm 34, live in Joliet, Illinois, and I've worked as a mechanic for most of my adult life. Nothing fancy. I've always been a blue-collar guy. Grease on my hands, sore back, long hours. But I've always been loyal, to my job, to my people. Especially her. Her name is April. She was 29 when I met her at a friend's cookout. She had this way of talking that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. She told me she was working part-time at Walgreens while taking classes at the local community college. Said her dream was to become a nurse. I thought that was noble. She had this energy about her, like she was going somewhere. We started dating soon after. Moved fast. Maybe too fast, but I was happy. She moved into my place after 6 months. At first, we both worked. She split the bills, helped out around the apartment. But about a year in, she said she wanted to go to nursing school full-time. Said she needed to focus if she wanted to get into a good program. I understood. I respected it. She told me, "It's just for a couple years. I'll pay you back once I'm a nurse." I told her, "Don't worry about the money. I've got you." So I picked up extra shifts. Worked weekends. 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. I was always tired. Always sore. But I kept telling myself it was worth it. I pictured her in scrubs helping people, proud of what she'd done, and proud of me for helping her get there. Meanwhile, I handled everything else. Cooking, cleaning, laundry. She was always studying, always exhausted. I didn't mind. I thought that's what support looked like. Real love. Real partnership. When she passed her first big exam, we went out to dinner. I remember looking at her across the table, thinking, this is going to be our life. Her career, our future. We're building something. I had no clue she was building something else, behind my back. Fast forward 2.5 years. Her graduation day. I took off work. First day I'd missed in months. I bought her flowers, got my car washed, even ironed the one dress shirt I owned. She looked amazing in her white cap and gown. I was so proud, I could barely breathe. The ceremony was in a ballroom at a hotel downtown. I watched her walk across the stage, smile at the camera, shake hands with her professors. I clapped so hard my hands went numb. When she came back down, she walked right up to me. She hugged me tight. Kissed me softly. Then she leaned in and whispered, "I'm sorry." I froze. For what? But she didn't answer. She just pulled back, looked at me for a second, and walked away. I stood there, holding her diploma. People around me were cheering, laughing, taking pictures. And I was just there. Alone. With the thing I sacrificed everything for. I called her that night. No answer. Same the next day. A week passed before she showed up to the apartment. She came during the middle of the day when she knew I'd be at work. Grabbed her clothes and a few boxes. She didn't even take the stethoscope I bought her last Christmas. When I got home and saw the empty closet, I knew it was over. But I still didn't understand why. I finally got her on the phone the next evening. She sounded cold. Flat. "I can't do this anymore, Mike," she said. "I'm sorry. I need something else." That was it. No real reason. No tears. Like I was a phase she was done with. A week later, I found out from one of her old classmates. The girl texted me late one night. "Not sure if you know, but April and Dr. Kessler were kind of a thing during clinicals." I stared at that message for 10 minutes before I could even process it. Dr. Ronald Kessler. Her clinical instructor. Mid-40s. Married. 2 kids. He gave her glowing reviews on all her evaluations. I remember her mentioning him a few times, said he was really supportive and believed in her. I never thought twice about it. Until that text. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted there to be another explanation. But I remembered something. A year earlier, she asked me to help her fix her school email on her laptop. I helped her log in, and remembered the password. It was our dog's name and her birth year. Stupid simple. And I guess she never changed it. So I logged in. What I saw made my blood go cold. There were emails. Dozens. All late at night. Long paragraphs. Some short but flirty. A few had attachments, PDFs of hotel confirmations. One subject line said, "Last night was perfect. I don't want to wait anymore." Another said, "I'll tell him after graduation. I promise." The worst one was from her, 3 weeks before the ceremony. She wrote, "Mike is killing himself working. I feel horrible sometimes. But I can't stop. I love you. I want this. After I get my diploma, I'll walk away." I stared at that for hours. She planned it. All of it. She used me like a damn stepping stone. Got her degree, kissed me goodbye, then walked into a new life with the man she'd been sneaking around with. A married man at that. I couldn't sleep that night. I wanted to break something. But I didn't. I just sat in the dark and planned. I made folders. Backed up every email. Took screenshots. Saved everything on a USB drive. I even printed a few just to feel the weight of the lies in my hands. Then I started digging. Found Kessler's faculty page. Saw he'd been teaching there 15 years. Tenured. His bio said he was passionate about mentoring the next generation of nurses. Barf. I also found his wife's Instagram. Family photos. Their kids at the zoo. Him grilling in the backyard. Fake smiles. I created a new email account. No name. No way to trace it back to me. I wrote one sentence in the subject line. "You deserve the truth." Inside the email, I told his wife everything. I was calm. Direct. I attached screenshots. Date-stamped emails. Her husband's love letters to a student. Her husband's hotel bookings during work conferences. I told her I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just thought she had a right to know who she was married to. Then I hit send. But I wasn't done. Next, I sent an anonymous tip to the college's Board of Ethics. I attached the same evidence. Said one of their instructors had a long-term relationship with a student under his supervision. Said they might want to look into that before it turned into a lawsuit. Then I waited. And I watched everything fall apart. 2 weeks after I sent those emails, things started to shift. April showed up at my place one night. I hadn't seen her since she took her stuff. She knocked like she still lived there. I didn't answer right away. I watched her through the peephole first. She looked tired. Nervous. No makeup. Hoodie, messy hair. Not the April I remembered. I opened the door, but didn't let her in. "What do you want?" I asked. She stared at me for a second. Then she just said, "You sent it." I didn't say anything. Her voice cracked. "Ron's being investigated. His wife left him. His kids are with her parents." I crossed my arms. "Sounds like he's facing the same truth you handed me. You ruined his life." "No," I said. "You did. I just made sure no one else had to be fooled." She stepped forward. "You don't understand. It wasn't just sex. I loved him." I laughed. "I didn't mean to, but I did. You loved him so much you kept using me to pay your tuition," I said. "That's not love. That's cowardice." She didn't argue. She just stared at the floor. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I didn't know he was sleeping with another student, too." I froze. "What?" She looked up at me with watery eyes. "He told me it was just us. That he'd leave his wife. But I found emails. Same ones. To a girl from the year before me. So that was it. Kessler wasn't just a cheater, he was a predator. He'd been pulling this stunt for years. April wasn't special. Just the next in line. It didn't make me feel better. Not really. But it made things clearer. He used you, I said. And you used me. I guess you both got what you deserved. That set her off. She stepped back and snapped. You think you're so righteous, Mike? You think this makes you better? You destroyed everything I worked for. I stared her down. I paid for everything you worked for. Every dollar. Every hour I spent under a damn car while you were in bed with him. You think I don't get to react? She didn't respond. Just turned and walked away. The next day, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked it, it was the college. A woman from the board. Said she wanted to ask a few clarifying questions regarding a tip received. I never called back. They had enough evidence. They didn't need me to say a word. A week later, April's name was removed from the nursing job board. The position she'd bragged about, trauma nurse at St. Alexius in Hoffman Estates, was marked withdrawn. I didn't hear from her again for a while. Then one night, I was at a bar in town, grabbing a drink with my buddy Wes. Wes is a tow truck driver who knows everybody's business. He leaned in mid-beer and said, "Hey, you hear about April?" I shook my head. She tried applying at Silver Cross. Didn't even make it past the background check. Word's out. They're not saying why, but I heard the board flagged her file for review. I nodded, didn't say much. Just kept sipping. That same night, I got another email. This time from Kessler. It was from a personal Gmail. No subject. Just a wall of words. I don't know what your goal was, but congratulations. You've humiliated my wife, destroyed my career, and caused pain to a lot of people. I never meant to hurt anyone. April was an adult. We were in love. You didn't have to go nuclear. I stared at the screen. This man, who manipulated a student, cheated on his wife, and lied to everyone, was now lecturing me about going too far? I thought about replying. I had a draft written up too. But I never hit send. What could I say that would matter to a guy like that? Let him sit in the wreckage. But things weren't over. A few days later, I got home from work and noticed something strange. My apartment door wasn't locked. I always lock it. Always. I stepped inside slowly. Nothing was broken. Nothing was stolen. But on the table, right there in the middle, was a manila envelope. Inside were photos. Me. In my shop. At my apartment. At the bar with Wes. Taken from a distance. Someone had been following me. No note. No signature. Just photos. The next morning I called Wes. Told him what happened. He didn't sound surprised. That guy's unhinged, he said. You think he's just gonna take the fall and walk away? You embarrassed him. Made him look weak. These types, guys who think they're untouchable, they don't forgive. They don't forget. I started watching my back more after that. Changed my locks. Got cameras installed. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. But peace wasn't going to come easy. That same week, my boss pulled me into the office. Said someone had called and claimed I was stealing parts off cars. That I was running a side hustle on company time. Total lie. But it made him look into my records. It was a hassle. Nothing came of it, but it shook me. That call didn't come from nowhere. This was turning into a Cold War. And April? I didn't know where she went. But I had a feeling she wasn't far. About a month went by without any new drama. I stayed quiet, kept working, didn't talk to anyone about what happened. Thought maybe things were finally calming down. Maybe the fallout had passed and people were just moving on. Then I got served. A man in a suit knocked on the shop door while I was doing a brake job. handed me an envelope and said, "You've been named in a defamation claim." At first, I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Kessler was suing me. Or at least trying to. His lawyer claimed I deliberately sent private information to third parties with intent to damage personal and professional reputation. I stood there in my grease-stained shirt, staring at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. I was being dragged into court by the same man who slept with a student he was grading, who destroyed his marriage, who cheated, lied, and hid everything behind a university badge. I didn't have money for a lawyer. But I wasn't stupid. I used that same backup USB, the one with the emails, screenshots, and date stamps, and I went to a local attorney who owed my uncle a favor. She took one look at the documents and said, "This is garbage. He's bluffing. Trying to scare you. If he files it, we counter with sexual misconduct and Title IX violations." She was right. 2 weeks later, the case was dropped before it ever hit court. No explanation. Just a quiet withdrawal. But it told me something important. He was desperate. Then came the job interview. I had applied to a better-paying shop out in Naperville. Figured with all the overtime I had been doing, it was time to get a real bump in pay. The interview went well. Manager like me said he'd call with the offer. 3 days later, I got a short email. "Thank you for applying. Unfortunately, we've decided to go in a different direction." I didn't think much of it, until the assistant manager I met texted me out of the blue. "Hey man, off the record, someone called the shop. Said you had a pending legal situation and could be a liability." I didn't say anything, but you should know. Something weird's going on. That's when I knew. Kessler wasn't just bitter. He was trying to poison my name now. And April? I hadn't heard from her in weeks. But then one of her old classmates, Ashley, reached out through Facebook. She wrote, "I know we don't know each other, but I thought you should see this. April's saying some crazy stuff." She attached screenshots from a private Facebook group. April had been posting there using a second account, one with a fake name, but it was clearly her. Same writing style. Same photos. In the group, she was telling people she'd been financially abused, emotionally manipulated, and controlled by an older man who didn't want her to succeed. She was talking about me. She flipped the whole story. In her version, I was some monster who refused to let her grow, and threatened her future when she tried to leave. She even hinted that I might have hacked her email, trying to smear her and Kessler out of jealousy. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She wasn't just rewriting the past, she was smearing me in places she thought I'd never see. I messaged Ashley back. "Thanks for telling me. Let me know if she posts anything else." That's when Ashley dropped something I didn't see coming. "She's staying with him again. At a rental out in Plainfield. I saw her there. She looked rough." April had gone back to Kessler. After everything. After his wife left, his job crumbled, his name got dragged through the mud, she still went back to him. I sat with that for a while, trying to figure out why. Was it love? Guilt? Or maybe she just had nowhere else to go. But I knew one thing, the two of them weren't done messing with me. And I wasn't done either. I started gathering everything. A full folder. Printed screenshots. Witness statements. Call logs. The whole trail. I wasn't looking for revenge anymore. I wanted protection. Then I noticed something strange on one of the screenshots Ashley sent me. In one of April's fake posts, she mentioned a car shop guy who kept a second phone to watch me. I never had a second phone. But I did have an old iPad in the apartment. One I let her use for Netflix when she was studying. I hadn't touched it in over a year. I pulled it out. Charged it. Turned it on. Guess what I found? She was still logged into one of her old cloud accounts. Full access. I don't know if she forgot, or if she thought I got rid of it, but everything was there. Photos. Texts. Voice memos. One in particular caught my eye. An audio clip labeled Plan B. I played it. Her voice. Quiet, but clear. If he finds out, I'll just say he was violent. He's a mechanic, people will believe it. I'll cry if I have to. I sat there, frozen. That wasn't just betrayal. That was a threat. A plan. She had intended to smear me if things went bad. And when they did, she tried to carry it out. I copied the audio. Made 2 backups. Sent one to my lawyer. Sent another to myself. And suddenly, I realized, maybe I didn't have to keep playing defense. Maybe it was time they both knew what real consequences looked like. After hearing that audio clip, her voice cold, calm, calculated, something in me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't go break anything. I just shifted. I'd spent months being used, lied to, stalked, and almost ruined. And now I had proof that she planned it all. I took a long look at myself in the mirror that night. Not for pity. Just to ask a question, what kind of man do I want to be after all this? Then I made a plan. I sent the voice recording to the ethics board that had investigated Kessler. I didn't say a word, just dropped it from a burner email along with a note. Student admits she planned to manipulate records and destroy a witness. Listen closely. You missed something. They'd already closed the case months ago with a quiet leave of absence for him. But with this, they reopened it fast. This wasn't just a relationship, it was collusion. Manipulation. A cover-up. That audio alone was enough to start a deeper inquiry. Within 2 weeks, Kessler's teaching license was revoked. Gone. Not suspended. Gone. He tried to appeal, but it came out he had done the same thing with at least 2 other students before April. The school went into full panic mode. They scrubbed his name from the faculty list, deleted all photos, even pulled down archived videos with him in them. His career was dead. I had the screenshots, the messages, and now the voice memo proving she made up abuse allegations. I knew she was applying for licenses out of state, trying to start over. So I made sure the right people knew who they were considering. I filed a formal complaint to the Indiana State Nursing Board with copies of the emails between her and Kessler, her fake Facebook posts accusing me of abuse, the audio clip of her planning it. It took a few weeks, but she was flagged for ethical concerns pending investigation, which meant every application she submitted, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, got blocked. She went on a statewide blacklist. Couldn't work in any licensed medical field while the investigation was open. And once the audio leaked, she couldn't fight it. She tried to claim it was fake, but her own voice sank her. She sent me one last email. Just 4 words. Why are you doing this? I didn't reply. She knew exactly why. Remember his wife? The one I sent everything to in the beginning? She reached out again, this time through her lawyer. She wanted to know if I'd be willing to give a written statement for her divorce case. She wanted full custody, the house, and alimony. I said yes. I sent over everything. The judge didn't even blink. She got everything. Kessler lost his job, his license, his family. He ended up living in a short-term rental in Plainfield, just him and his regrets. But it got better. Or worse for them. No, I didn't set anything on fire. But karma has a funny way of showing up. The rental April and Kessler were staying in? It went up in flames. Faulty space heater. Total loss. No insurance coverage because it was a temporary sublet, under the table. I found out through mutual contacts that everything they owned was inside. Laptops. Records. Her nursing school supplies. His backup files. All gone. They had to move into a cheap motel off Route 30. No jobs. No future. Just each other, and all the wreckage they caused. And me? I finally let go. It took months, but I moved out of that old apartment. Got a better job at a clean shop in Aurora, Owner knew what I went through and didn't care. Said as long as I could work, the past didn't matter. I also met someone. Not fast. Not flashy. Just slow, real, steady. Her name's Dana. She works at a dentist's office. She brings me lunch sometimes and asks me how I'm doing. I don't hide anything from her. I told her the whole story. She said, "You've got scars. But you survived." She's right. I don't stay angry anymore. But I never forget. And sometimes, late at night, I remember standing in that ballroom, holding April's diploma, thinking I was watching the woman I loved begin her future. Turns out, I was watching her walk off a cliff. And all I did was step out of the way.